Friends, we can finally talk just a little bit today about the modern age of Civilization 7. There is a new dev diary as well as a new dev live stream that covers the end game, the victory conditions in Civ 7, as well as some of the post launch content with regard to DLCs, to patches, to quality of life improvements. So we're just going to dive in and check it all out. My name, of course, is VanBradley. Just want to say, hey, welcome back to the Civ 7 content. Y'all have been amazingly supportive so far, and I've been having a great time. So let's jump into this dev diary. Now, this is a little bit awkward for me because I've actually played a ton of the modern age of Civilization 7 because I need to have a review ready for February 3rd. So in this video, we are only talking about the things mentioned here. We are not going to talk about my experience with the modern age in general, just so I avoid going into like Take-Two jail or anything like that. But let's start at the top with victories. So the first part here outlines how victories work. This is an aspect that I actually struggled with a little bit when I played my first Modern Age. I wish I had a dev diary to explain this. Also, I just wasn't paying attention. So once I figured it out, it was really easy. There are actually two things happening in a victory in Civilization 7. First is completing the legacy path. So in the Modern Age, you're going to have 4 legacy paths, just like the previous 2 ages. And once you complete a path, it will unlock a condition for victory. So there's a whole other step after these paths are completed. I got to the end of a path in the modern age, wondered why I hadn't won the game, and then realized I still had a whole quest to do. So it's good for them to clear up in this kind of dev diary. A little note here as well that I didn't pick up while playing, so I'm glad they're mentioning it in a dev diary, but I did figure out chatting with some of the devs just about my experience playing Civ 7 as I was going along, is as you earn legacy points throughout the game, it makes the victory condition easier. It says here it takes around 20 turns of activity to complete the victory condition after you unlock the legacy path. I find that to be a little bit too much. I don't think I'm ever taking 20 turns to complete, but it is a little bit of a quest you have to go on after you complete the legacy path. But the more legacy points you earned in that pathway along the way through the first 2 ages, the quicker this will be. During the Culture of Victory, the World's Fair is a great example. It's a wonder you have to build. So let's say it takes 20 turns. If you have been collecting culture points along the way in the Antiquity and Exploration ages, it'll take fewer turns to build the wonder. You'll need less production. That'll be the same for all of the other quests as well. They'll be easier to do and more quick to do if you've been collecting points along the way. So it's a really cool way to tie the 3 ages together. And once I realized that, it really elevated my play and my enjoyment of the modern age, just because I knew that what I was doing previously was making a difference to the end game victory condition. So it's a really cool little thing for them to note here, because it wasn't very intuitive for me to find out. But once I figured it out in the game, I had a great time with it. So yeah, this is a great thing for them to note in a dev diary. Another thing I'm happy they noted here, and something I've been trying to tell people about the first 2 ages, is you can work on more than one victory at a time. One of the things about the legacy paths that I find really interesting is that they're all going at the same time. You might focus one or the other, especially knowing that those points are accumulating to the victory, but functionally you're kind of contributing to all 4 at the same time. So you can be working on multiple victory conditions at the same time. There have been quite a few games of Civ 7 in general across all the ages where I don't go in with a plan of which path I'm going to fill out to either, maximize the points or to find the victory or whatever. I kind of just let the game present itself to me, and then I see what the easiest pathway or the most fun pathway is going to be. So it is good to know going into Civ 7, you can work on more than one of these at a time. You are not locked into one path or the other, so make sure you're letting the game happen in front of you and reacting accordingly. This gets a little tricky because I don't want to talk about my experience and whether I liked or disliked or what my opinion is about these victory conditions here, but I do want to talk about them briefly. The World's Fair gives me Anno 1800 vibes. I am a sucker for a wonder in civilization, and so it was really cool for me to see that building the World's Fair was an actual victory condition. I was not aware of that until I kind of finished this culture tree for the first time. So it's really, really cool that you can kind of build up the World's Fair. You max out this path, and you get a wonder you have to build, and it's really fun to like have your whole empire trying to build this one world wonder as a victory condition. So the World's Fair one, it really feels like a capstone, right? Like you've got to the end of a game, you're on your little victory quest, and then you're going to build this giant world wonder. I love the way the World's Fair works in Anno 1800. Obviously very different games, but they give me very similar vibes, and so this one's really engaging, and I really like this victory condition. The World Bank is our economic victory condition. Basically what happens is you are collecting your factory resources. I found out during the dev live stream today that I could be more efficient with that collection, so I actually learned something from watching the live stream. I had a comprehension of how it worked, but Ed Beach, he created the game. He's got it a little more down to a science than I had it. So I'm excited to try this again. Now that I better understand how the factory resources leading up to it work. Basically, you're going to get a homie. This homie's got to go around the world to all the capitals and convince them by spending golden influence to join the World Bank and create an economic victory condition. I'm mostly just happy there is an economic victory condition. It's something I've wanted in Civilization for a long time, but that's your economic victory condition. You're not building a world wonder like the culture one. You're sending these three homies around to liaise with the capitals of the universe to try and convince them to join your World Bank mission. Also, really cool, Great Banker has the functionality from Civ 6 where you can just teleport it from capital to capital. It's the only unit so far, I think, that I found that can do that, but we'll see. I'm happy that the functionality's there, that's for sure. Operation Ivy is your military victory, and I'm glad they moved the nukes more from a sciencey one to a domination one. It just thematically fits a little bit better for me, although I understand if people wanted to keep it in the science one, it also makes perfect sense. I just think the idea of nukes in Civ are very a military thing for me, so I really enjoyed this. Reaching the end of the modern military legacy path unlocks the Manhattan Project Wonder. Building this in any city of your empire grants you one nuclear weapon immediately, so smash this down, get a nuke, launch that nuke, have some fun. You can construct additional nuclear weapons, and you can start even more devastating technology. Operation Ivy will create a hydrogen bomb, and that'll be your victory condition, is completing Operation Ivy. The more military legacy points you gain along the way, the quicker these constructions are. So if you're going around the world, you're slamming down cities, you're taking over cities, you're doing your military thing in the first 2 ages. You're gonna have a quicker time going through this process, which is gonna be great. Earlier nukes, more destruction. How fun is that? You can see here too, it is not nothing to produce these. About 20 turns, 17 for Operation Ivy, 11 just to build another nuke in general. So those points are going to help you speed these things up for sure. Scientific victory, again, fairly simple. You're going to go down the modern science legacy path. You will unlock the staffed space flight project, and then to complete the victory condition, you just got to complete the project, and then that'll speed up based on the science legacy points you have. So very simple. You know what I mean? Like getting through that legacy path and then getting to the victory condition, very easy to understand, but that is how you are going to complete your scientific victory. The one thing that's missing here is how you actually go through the legacy paths to achieve the victory, because there's kind of two parts to this. If you're looking at this and going, oh, why is every victory condition just kind of like a little project you have to go on? It's because completing the legacy path also has its own goals and quests that you're doing. So it's kind of two things coming together to complete the victory. In the developer live stream, they talked about a couple of these legacy paths. I don't want to say any more about them. I'm not meant to really be talking about the modern age that's not been officially revealed. So just in case they haven't revealed all of them, I'm not going to go through how you actually complete each of those legacy paths, but just reading this, you might get the impression that the victory conditions are all just like, oh, why is it just completing a city project? It's because there's a whole other thing you got to do before you even get the ability to complete those projects. And so if you're wondering why it just feels like one half of a two-part thing, it's because it is one half of a two-part thing where you actually have to get to the victory condition first and then achieve the victory condition. So you're kind of doing it in two pieces. That's all we got here for the victory conditions. Again, I'll kind of wait until the embargo lifts for me to chat about these a little bit more in my review on the 3rd. What I will say now, though, is these are 4 very different victory conditions. How you get to them is very different. You're going to be able to let them kind of come at you, and so you don't have to go into each age with a plan. If you do go in with a plan and you've been kind of, farming the whole thing along the way and achieving those legacy points, things will get sped up, but you will be able to just kind of get in, see the map, see the modern age, react to what's happening, and go down a few different victory paths and then kind of find your victory condition from there. So overall, 4 victory conditions, 4 very different ways to get there once we learn more about that. And then we have a little project to do at the end. So if you're wondering how victory conditions work in Civ 7, that's how they go. Hey friends, Editing VB here. If you have not yet purchased Civilization 7, maybe you're on the fence about the purchase, maybe you are waiting for a little bit of a discount, I have partnered with Fanatical to save you 12% off all versions of Civilization 7. Fanatical is an officially licensed key reselling website, so what you are purchasing is a Steam key for the edition of Civilization 7 that you would like. 2K is on their official publishers list, and they even follow each other on Twitter, which is pretty rad. About 24 people or so have already used the link since I posted it in Discord and on YouTube, but how it works is you click the link in the description, it's kind of a referral link for me. You save 12% off Civilization. I get a little bit of a kickback, so you're supporting me as a creator. Everybody wins in this scenario. You get your code for Civ 7. You can hop into early access. You can hop in kind of on the 11th if you buy the standard edition. I know key reselling websites aren't for everybody. I don't want to push it too hard or anything, but I do want to leave it down there in the description below if buying a copy through Fanatical, saving that 12%, and supporting me as a creator is something you are interested in. Let's talk a little bit about the tips they give you for your first game of Civilization 7. I have a lot of tips I would give you. This isn't really the right video for those tips. Maybe I'll mention them on a Reddit post or something, kind of what I think people should know going into their first game of Civ 7. I do just want to, co-sign on what they put in here, though. I think these are the settings you are going to want to go in for your first game. If you're comfortable with Civ, I would tick this up 1. I wouldn't tick it up more than 1. Just for the first game, it's great to get in and make sure you're having a good time. I do find the AI on Governor, I was able to smash them pretty easily, even in my first Antiquity age. So if you're familiar enough with Civ that you're comfortable, tick it up 1. I found that to be the best difficulty to learn on for me. But Governor was great for my first game. I really enjoyed that. Definitely keep the game speed on standard. A lot of this game is based around pacing, when an age ends, when it doesn't end, how much an age tick forwards, when you're unlocking certain things. So you want to keep the game speed and the pacing pretty standard just to learn all the new mechanics. Things get really wonky on different game speeds. We've been experimenting with them, and some things scale well and some things don't scale really well. So definitely keep it on standard, co-signing that for people. Continents Plus is the one you are going to want to go with for sure. Archipelago maps are great, but there's no navigable rivers a lot of the time, and the AI have a hard time with them. Shuffle maps, you'll kind of just get some random stuff, so they can be really fun. They can also be really difficult to learn on. Up here, they mention that Continents Plus is really great because you get the continents, but you also get the extra islands just offshore to help ease the ocean exploration. That's been my experience as well. On a Continents Plus map, you have this little archipelago that goes through the continent, so you're never too far away from a coast. So your first time exploring in the exploration age, you're just going to lose less units to the ocean, kind of deep ocean damage that you're going to get. So I would definitely recommend Continents Plus as well. Map size small, I would agree that this is probably the best way to go. You're going to have 4 civs on your kind of initial continent, then you're going to find 2 more in the exploration age, and that's been a really good kind of middle ground for me. If you make it too much smaller or too much bigger, the pacing again gets a little bit wonky. If you're going to go in any direction, I would index bigger over smaller, but I think small is a great, way to hop into Civ 7 for the first time. I haven't had a chance to talk about this, but they do a little bit of chatting about the tutorial and the advisors. What I will say about this right now, I haven't had the chance. I want to call out the tutorial team. I even passed along a message to the tutorial team devs when I could, through a dev. I wanted to give my thanks. The tutorial in this game is genuinely awesome. I have a hard time with tutorials in a lot of games. Sometimes it feels like you're watching a movie and just being given exposition. It's hard to engage with it and actually learn. No tutorial is perfect. Civ 7 is a complicated game, and so a tutorial is never going to get you fully caught up to speed. And I'm also coming in, I'm pretty privileged. I'm a pretty competent Civ player who understands the game well enough that, I probably didn't need a tutorial. But I thought the tutorial was wonderful. When you get in, it's very dynamic. It's only going to show you a tutorial for things you are doing. So when you go to settle your cities, it will give you the city settle tutorial. When you go to pick your legacy path to go down, it'll give you a tutorial for the ones you're focusing on, but will kind of scrap the ones you're not. So as you learn, it will give you the information you need. It's not just going to bombard you with a whole bunch of information you're not going to use. And so I found the tutorial to be very, very well done. The advisors are better than they were in Civ 6. I frequently find them giving me better advice than they gave me in Civilization 6, so that's great. There's also a only warnings setting here. I actually just turned the only warning set off for the first time. I'm probably on game 14 or 15 or whatever it is at this point, and I'll probably turn this back on when I start streaming the game, just to make sure everyone else understands what some of the warnings are. I found the only warnings to be a great middle ground. I enjoyed the game letting me know when things were going wrong, that I wasn't quite in, even though I was comfortable with the game, I wasn't quite attuned to every little thing. So this only warning setting is genuinely really nice as well. So just a huge shout out to the tutorial and advisors team. If you're going into Civ 7 and you're nervous that it's going to be complicated, you're not sure if you're going to be able to learn the game. The tutorial, again, it's not perfect. I don't think it could ever be, but it's about as good as you could expect, which is amazing because tutorials in these kinds of games are typically bad. So yeah, really love the tutorial. We also have a content roadmap for 2025. How exciting. Let's take a look through it here. Again, I won't be able to talk about too much about my experience in the game yet, other than what's been released from embargo. But let's start on the 6th here. Early access start. The one thing you should know about this is that it's actually the 5th for a lot of places. It's February 6th at noon if you're in New Zealand. If you're in like East Coast or West Coast America, though, it means that I'm in Vancouver, so I'm on the Pacific time zone. It's like 4 p.m. or whatever it is on February 5th. So make sure you are checking your time zone to make sure you know what time Civilization 6 releases for you if you have early access. There's a little 2K released a little graphic that has your time zone and the time it'll be released. But for a lot of people, it'll be in the late afternoon or evening on February 5th, which is super, super cool. There's also a day zero patch that's going out. I don't know if that's the patch I'm currently on or the one that'll be in the game if it patches again for day zero. What I will say is they've released about 3 patches since we started playing in the previews. All of those patches have done quite a bit. They updated the mini map. They've already patched a lot of the bugs that I had noticed and kind of sent in for feedback. And so I think these patches are going to be going out fairly frequently, but there will be a day zero patch, which is awesome. And then we have the global launch on February 11th. So if you just got the standard edition of the game, you'll be launching on February 11th, hopping in, having a great time, I would assume. The first really interesting thing here is seeing that they are kind of splitting up some of the DLCs between an early March and a late March kind of end time. I really love that they did this in the Frontier Pass. Like, you paid for the Frontier Pass, but they split it up into different content updates. I like this as a player. Civ 7 is already going to be a lot for people to wrap their heads around, so it's nice to just not like throw a bunch of new content in at one time. So I really like this approach of kind of splitting up all these releases over smaller periods. As a content creator too, it works really well for creating content because I have something new more frequently. New content drives engagement, it drives interest, it keeps people interested in the game and interested in watching YouTube videos. So I think on the whole, everyone kind of benefits when these are releasing in smaller chunks over time instead of in big kind of DLC packs. Release number 1, we got more information about new leaders and new civs. Ada Lovelace coming in and Simone Bolivar coming in release 1 and 2 respectively. We got Carthage and Great Britain. So for all you Great Britain heads, you will be getting Great Britain in early March if you have the Crossroads of the World DLC. We can chat about locking Great Britain into a DLC in a different video, and people are going to feel a certain way about that. But if you are one of the people wondering, where's Great Britain? They put it in a DLC. It's here on early March if you want to grab it. We have Bulgaria and Nepal. Really excited for Nepal specifically. I've been to Nepal. It's wonderful. It's great. I like Nepal. So we'll see. We'll see how much I like it in Civ. But that'll be coming late March. And then we also have 4 new natural wonders. So 4 new natural wonders coming in as well. One thing to mention here is there will actually be new wonders for Ada Lovelace and Simone Bolivar, or for the Civs, sorry, for Carthage, Great Britain, Bulgaria, and Nepal. Each Civ has a wonder that they're kind of attached to that they can earn a little bit more quickly and a little bit earlier than all the other Civs in the game. And so we will be getting new world wonders as well for these to be attached to. They mentioned that it will not be attaching them to wonders already in the game. So it's not mentioned here as some new world wonders, buildable ones coming in for the Civs as well, which will be super fun. Natural wonders in game are really powerful. I've described them. How have I described them before? I can't remember exactly. Oh, like dredge, where you kind of have different fish that give you different things and you have to like put them in certain ways. Fundamentally, a lot of the natural wonders are just a big pile of yields on 4 or 5 tiles, and those 4 or 5 tiles are shaped in different things. I would love to see these 4 new natural wonders have more effects-based things like they did in Civ 6 to make them a little more unique. So we'll see how that goes, but excited to be getting more natural wonders. I found them, unlike Civ 6, where you have like your cliffs of Dover that aren't very good. I found all the natural wonders that I've run into actually be worth settling and incorporating into your empire, which is great. So 4 new ones is going to be awesome. One of the things game companies like to do now, along with their, paid DLC, we got the paid stuff up here, but look how much free stuff you're getting, everybody. So they want to make sure people know the free stuff that's coming out. So they put a big free content here, which I enjoy a lot. Early March, major update here. What they said about this, just if you didn't watch the live stream, is that the major update is just going to be the first one in each kind of, update section. So don't expect this one to have more or fewer changes than 1.1.1. They just call it a major one because it's the first one of the period in which they're patching, but it could be the case that this has fewer updates than this one, even though it's called a major update. I don't really understand. They made it sound like, hey, we put the word major there, but it doesn't mean it's going to be bigger than this one. And then it's like, Is there like a legal reason you got to put the? Why don't you just put update? I don't know. Anyways, it just seems like an own goal to like put major here and then tell people don't assume it'll be bigger than the non-major one. It's like, well, that's what the word major means, but whatever. It's okay. We'll all survive and get through it. But if you didn't catch that in the live stream, I thought that was kind of a bizarre thing to say about it. But we got a major update here, major content update. Obviously, don't know what's going to be in it. What I will say though is I'm really happy with how the patches have gone in the early access part so far that the streamers have been playing. I found them to actually like be helpful and patching up things that we kind of wanted to be patched up. So I have no doubt that this major update and the 1.1.1 update will be full of things that the community is going to be happy with if they kind of follow how some of the patches have been going so far. So high degree of confidence that these are going to rock and be awesome. Obviously, I have some ideas of what I'm hoping are going to be in these patches. I'll talk about that during the review. They've talked down here about some of the things that they already know people want in these patches that they're going to be working on. They've already solved the minimap problem a lot of people were having, which is really nice. We're getting some events as well. These events are going to work, they said, kind of similarly to the monthly challenges in Civ 6. I'm really happy to be seeing these coming back. I really love the monthly challenges in Civ 6. I didn't engage with them too much myself, but the community, Reddit, a lot of the content creators really did. So I found them awesome. They also said something really interesting here, if you didn't catch it, that they're going to be using events as ways to kind of move things into the game and to test out new mechanics, which I think is brilliant. What a great development strategy. So as things kind of cycle through events, new game mechanics, things like that, they'll kind of cycle through an event into the game, or they will use the events, the challenges to, test out new mechanics. They're not sure if they want to put in the whole game just yet, and they want some, testing time to go into them. They'll put them in an event. I think it's a brilliant way to introduce things so people have something new to do while also making sure before they go into the complete product, they're fully vetted and tested and patched and all the rest. So everything they said about the events got me really excited for them. Separate from the natural wonders we are getting in the Crossroads of the Worlds or any future DLC packs, we're getting new ones for the free content updates as well. So you're going to be getting Bermuda Triangle and Mount Everest. If you didn't get Crossroads of the World, if you do have Crossroads of the World, you will be getting these four plus these two. So that's a lot of natural wonders. So by the time we get to late March, we're going to have a significant amount of natural wonders in the game because I'm still discovering new ones on like game 15 or 16 or whatever. I don't know how many there are in the game. I haven't counted, but it feels like, enough. And so this will be cool to have even more options. This bit up here is interesting. April to September, we have right to rule 2 new leaders, 4 civs, 4 new world wonders. You'd have to assume that none of this will be coming out in April, that this might be a summer, like June, July, August kind of thing here. If there's only 2 new leaders and 4 new civs, I don't think they'd spread that out once a month. That seems like a little sparse. But you have to assume that this will not all be dropping in September, that we'll be getting more leaders, more civs, more world wonders if you have the right to rule collection that will be coming out kind of at that time. I would suspect June, July, August release for this stuff. But again, I really just personally like this. Like every month, there's a couple of new updates for people. I think it's way more digestible in a game like Civ and gives me stuff to make content about. So that's awesome. And then after October is just more to come. I like that they have to say this. Like, don't worry. Don't worry, after October, we will still patch this game. We will still update the game. Don't stress. So yeah, October 2025 and beyond, more Civ 7 content. But my honest impression of this roadmap is I'm fairly happy. I'm coming from the perspective of someone who's played the game quite a bit already, who's kind of rolled through all of the victory conditions and everything. And so I can't talk about all of that experience in this video. But what I can say is based on how things have been going so far, based on my experience with the patches going into the game so far, this seems right to me. This feels like the correct cadence for everything to make sure you have enough time to incorporate feedback, but enough time to develop it properly. Patching things onto 5 different consoles or whatever it is not always easy. So yeah, like an early update and a late update, twice a month feels right. You assume there's probably about 3 weeks between these. That feels just right to me. One of the things when I talked to the developers in my interview, and one of the things Ed Beach mentioned in the live stream, is the one thing they don't get until people play the game is telemetry data. And so, a lot of people can have a lot of opinions about like the mini map just by looking at it and posting on Reddit, et cetera, et cetera. But the telemetry data of what units people are building, what, types of narrative events are people picking, how many times are people getting to the end of the science legacy but not completing the victory condition, et cetera, et cetera. All of those kind of, data points that you can plug into a spreadsheet with all the telemetry they'll be gaining, they mentioned is very, very helpful, and that won't happen until people start playing in early access. I think my guess would be the game would be out for less than 5 minutes before they have more hours played in game than the QA team could even possibly test. And so, it's really easy to rag on devs like, why wasn't this tested? Why didn't you test that? Why is this thing unbalanced? But just statistically speaking, with the amount of people playing the game for the amount of hours they'll be playing it for, they'll have more data to pull from in the first day than they'd have in the entirety of the QA process, probably 10 times over. So 3 weeks seems like a good amount of time to me as a lay person who's just playing the game based on the patches so far. This seems like a good cadence for these things to be coming out. They put a little section here on collecting feedback. Basically, what they said in my interview when I interviewed two of the developers was that just keep putting it where you're putting it. We watch the YouTube videos. It is funny. They do watch the YouTube videos. I got added in this live stream because I posted a fun city, Pompeii, under a volcano or whatever. I didn't realize the game had been patched. But the game had been patched with the new mini-map, and so I posted it on Reddit, and everyone immediately freaked out about the mini-map that I didn't even know was updated. I didn't even see it. And so then Ed Beach was like, it seems that our streamer friends have already got the new mini-map in the game. I was like, oh, she's talking about me. I leaked his mini-map. I'm sorry, Ed. I'm so sorry, Ed Beach. I didn't mean to. I didn't know. I didn't get an email with the patch notes. It's my bad. Anyways, a lot of people saw a really cool Pompeii settle under a volcano. So it's still funny, even if I leaked the updated mini-map and kind of, rained on that parade a little bit. Anyways, leave the feedback where you're leaving it. You know what I mean? Like if you're leaving it in YouTube comments, if you're leaving it on Reddit, wherever you're leaving it, it seems that they're prepared to collect it from wherever you're already leaving it. You don't need to kind of go out of your way, which is super nice. And again, they'll have all that telemetry data. So I guess their message to the fans so far is leave the data and leave your feedback where you're already kind of leaving it. So I suppose that's what we should all do. Also, with the amount of just kind of user interface, I can't wait to talk about the UI during my review because everyone just has so many opinions on it. So it'll be fun for people to see where I land on it. But I do like how they put this in here, just like based on the amount of Reddit vitriol about the UI. Just where do we need to elevate the user interface? This is a really funny thing to put in here. There's a few updates to the core game they are looking at pretty early on here, adding teams to multiplayer. This is great. I think teams were so poorly implemented in Civ 6 that I would be happy for them to like tear it all down and just start from scratch. They mentioned one of the problems with teams so far has been the unique civic trees, right? You can't share that with each unique civ because each civ has a unique tree, that kind of thing. So we'll see where they land on this. If they just implement it like it is in Civ 6, but in Civ 7, I'll be kind of pissed off because I hate the way it's implemented in Civ 6. If they actually, break it down and create a new team system for multiplayer in Civ 7 that's better, I'll be happy. So medium excited about this. Expanding to 8 players for multiplayer in all ages is really interesting. I'm not sure exactly why the restrictions are the way they are. It's probably just to make sure the distant land system works. They mentioned here they need to refine the distant land system for this to happen. This makes sense to me because right now the distant land system is only available for the civs on your starting continent. It doesn't work for the civs you're discovering in the distant lands, kind of in the opposite direction. So I reckon that'll be part of the refinement they do as well. Allowing you to pick your starting and ending age to allow for single or double age games. This is, quirky and fun and unique, so we'll see how this goes. Providing a wider variety of map types. I think this is interesting. They mentioned in the live stream that they're kind of taking on the blocky map issue, which I've been playing on the blocky maps. I don't think it's a problem because the navigable rivers make them so dynamic. So you kind of are just maximizing the space, the rivers and the land. I don't know. I just have not found this to be an issue at all so far. So more map types, really excited about. The way the maps generate, maybe it's just me, I just have not had a single issue with so far. So more map types, very welcome. Whatever they do with the blockiness of the maps, I'm kind of hit or miss on. It is a little bit of realism. Continents in real life are not perfect squares or whatever, so I get it. But it's just not an issue I've been having. Adding in Hot Seat to multiplayer. Y'all have since, in my last video, I had no idea what Hot Seat was. Y'all have told me about Hot Seat. It kind of seems like the thing they should be adding in there, so I'm glad. I'm glad that the Hot Seat folks are going to be getting their Hot Seat eventually. They chat here about how they want your feedback from events, whether you want some of the event stuff to be added to the core game, what you'd like for future events. So make sure, leave those YouTube comments, go on Reddit, at Sarah, the community manager, and let her know what you like about the events. The one thing I wanted to be here is modding. It doesn't seem like we're getting modding really early on in Civ 7. It seems like they're going to be adding modding tools after launch to give to the modding community. I suspect this won't take too long. I also suspect this, a little bit of it has to do with Denuvo, the anti-tank tampering thing. I won't pretend to be up in arms about it like a lot of people are with Denuvo. However, what I will say is that I've heard it makes modding more difficult if there's Denuvo in there. It usually takes about 6 months, people have said, for Denuvo to get removed from a game, just to make sure that a lot of the sales early on are genuine. Say what you will about Denuvo, I don't have a strong opinion, but it does seem that as 2025 unfolds, we'll be sharing modding tools with these creators. That feels a little bad. I was hoping for a few mods early on that would really make my experience a little bit better as a PC player. I don't want to say anything about the parts of the game I like or don't like that should be modded, just because that's, embargoed until the review. But what I will say is that just, the game is optimized to be played on a lot of consoles, and I am playing on a PC. And so just a couple of mods that would make the experience better for PC players by just moving a couple things around would have been really nice. So we'll see what the extent is of modding early on here. But it doesn't look like we're getting mods early on, which is a little bit of a downer. Or it seems like the tools will be launched in blocks, so we'll be able to mod some things before we can mod others. This kind of reads like, hey, cool the jets on early modding. We'll get it out eventually in 2025, but early on, it's not our priority. So we'll see how it goes. Excited for the mods when they come. Was hoping to have them a little sooner than this, but we'll see. Until we know what tools are available at launch, if any, we won't be able to have a strong opinion about this. And that'll be it for this dev diary. I hope this was helpful for you. I hope you learned something. I hope I was able to kind of break it down in the way that didn't take up too much of your time, but gave you the information that you needed. If you're excited about Civ 7, make sure you hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, leave a comment below. I would hate for you to miss out on more Civilization content as we go along. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions about Civ 7, leave them in the comments. Hit up the Discord server. I'll answer some questions there for you. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.